I've been changing my tune the last few years. And I think it's so common for someone that goes on a quote unquote extreme diet, whether it's carnivore, whether it's animal based, you want to just scream from the rooftops and think that everyone should be doing that overhaul. And the more that I'm thinking about things holistically, which you just reminded me of about the Casey and Callie podcast on Rogan, it's like maybe we should just be thinking about these big levers to pull. So I think of a starting point, if everyone just ate more animal protein and were able to properly satiate themselves and fuel their muscles, I think we'd probably see a lot of really good data trending in the right direction around metabolic health in the U.S. if we just started with that one main lever to pull.
Dude, for sure. I mean, even if we just for kids like replaced the chocolate milk with Fairlife.
100%.
Like that would be crazy.
Yes.
Or like the competitor company I just invested in that hasn't launched, but yeah. We should do that one.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Let's talk offline about that.
Yeah. But no, it's A2 milk too. It's gonna be sick.
Yeah.
They haven't launched yet, but we have like good things going. Dude, Brett Ender, how would you describe yourself?
How would I describe myself?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's such a good question, man. I would say just tenacious, honestly. It's cool for me to be sitting here with you. I had heard a lot about you before I got to meet you as well, and just a lot of the amazing work that you've done with these podcasts that I've looked up to. And so just getting to become friends with you and get to know you more, all the amazing work you've done in the radio room is so cool, man. I think the way that Harry and I describe you and what you and Ryan are doing here at Squatch in the radio room is like, I really do think that this is true, that a lot of times it just takes one person or group of people to change the entire culture. So seeing what you guys have done to the studio and us being back here, we've gone to Squatch as our home gym for about 3 years to be able to record the Meat Mafia podcast out of here and come so close with you guys is amazing. And just all these united forces coming together is super encouraging to me.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, the room in here has been almost entirely Ryan, so it's definitely like props to him. He's a bit obsessive about making this better and better and better. So hopefully every time you walk in, it'll be just a little bit better.
I think obsessive people are so fascinating.
For sure.
Is that one of the reasons why you love Japan?
Yeah, dude. So the beer that I'm drinking is called Kaizen.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the concept of Kaizen?
Is that does that just refer to like continuous improvement?
Iteration improvement. Yeah. It's so funny because like I love Japan as an idea, but it's like so unrepresentative of me. Like on the scale of like order and chaos, like I am chaotic good is like my energetic experience and how I like live my life. And Japan is like order, and then maybe good and bad, yes. Depending on who's running the ship. But yeah, we'll get into Japan for sure. But I do want to double down on the tenacious thing because it's funny. Like I feel like, and I don't mean to be rude, but I feel like you have like resting serious face.
Dude, I have resting bitch face for sure.
It's serious though. It's not even bitch. It's more just like intense. Like there is an intensity that like you hold. Like, do you feel like that is intentional? Do you feel like that's something that you wish to put off? Like, how do you feel about that? And do you think it's true? Because obviously I'm making a judgment.
I think I appreciate it. I think it's true. And I think it's something that I take as a compliment. I think since I was a young kid, I think I had this sense of, I think just potential. Just the potential of our creator of what God has kind of instilled in us. And I think I've always had the sense of the clock ticking down, and I think wasted time and wasted potential is probably, it truly is is my biggest fear. And I think about my mortality a lot and really like squeezing all the juice out of the lemon as well. So I think that's probably where that intensity comes from. And I'm, also from the Northeast, and I think people from the Northeast, New Jersey, New York, Boston, etc., there's just something in the blood there, like this very fast-paced nature. Both my parents are from New Jersey too. I lived in New York City for 4 years, and I think it's a great city for someone in their early 20s to go to really sharpen their axe and figure out what they want to do. And when you go to New York, you really do feel like everything is possible. There's every possible demographic of people, the richest people of the world, the poorest people of the world there that, so I think that probably imbued some of that intensity in me as well. And, I also just feel really fortunate to be in Austin doing what I'm doing, because whether it's Meat Mafia podcast or Noble Origins, our supplement company, I consumed so much content for years in college, pre-college, before Harry and I had ever created the first episode of the Meat Mafia. So in a lot of ways, I realize how lucky I am to be able to do what I'm doing, and I just don't want to forfeit that gift. So I think that's probably where a lot of that intensity comes from. And I'm sure I probably could benefit from just smiling and easing up a little bit more too. But
I think it's about what brings you joy, you know? Like that's when you said like wasted, like I want to squeeze like everything out of life. Like I'm not sure I know what wasted time is. Like what does that feel like to you? Like when do you feel like you're wasting time?
So this is this is actually really good. So I would say that I've probably learned more about myself the last 2 years, finally taking the leap to do something entrepreneurial, than I ever have in my entire life.
Sure, dude. Yeah.
And so one of the things that I realized, I wasn't conscious of it, but the last year is like I've just picked up some vices. I never had really had issues with drinking or drugs for the most part, but this year in particular, I started getting into those feel-free.
Oh no,
kratom.
you did?
Bad.
Oh, I'm sorry, bro.
Yeah, like 5.
You can blame Austin for that.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. I was so upset with him with all that, but continue.
Yeah, but it's mismarketing, man.
He was kind of responsible for that.
So it was nicotine pouches first. I remember throwing the first time I threw a Zyn in, 6 milligram. I forget what it was. Feeling like this amazing jolt of energy. I remember drinking a feel-free tonic, and both of those things getting this like almost unnaturally euphoric source of dopamine that made me feel so confident. And I think the confidence was really masking the insecurity that I probably had as a founder of like, you know, hey, I felt really good writing content online, or I'm confident recording a podcast, but actually building a business around that when I had only ever been an individual contributor, I think there was a lot of fear and insecurity.
And your parents weren't entrepreneurs?
They were not.
Okay,
no,
okay.
My dad's consulting guy. He's had 2 jobs his entire career. Mom's a homemaker. So very stable path, but they definitely supported, have been incredibly supportive.
Your mom builds homes?
Homemade.
Sorry, I was trying to channel Theo Vaughn right there.
But yeah, they had very, very stable path. And yeah, I think what I've learned this year is that there's almost a addiction to something that would make me feel like invincible for a couple minutes. And like anything else, it's like you get that hit, but you're unnaturally paying the piper. And so I was getting to a point where it was like over a tin of nicotine a day, and then 5 to 7 feel-free tonics. Meanwhile, I'm co-hosting this podcast around health and wellness and building a supplement company. So I don't even know where that came. I'm trying to think. Was it around wasted time?
It was around wasted time, but I do want to go deeper into the feel-free situation though. So like, did you then have to kick that? And like, what was that like?
I kicked it. So I quit nicotine and kratom 3 days before my 30th birthday this June for the first time.
Shit, okay.
And so quitting both of those things at the same time, it literally felt like death.
Yeah.
Like almost like you had lost a really good friend, which is so crazy to say. Like I was crying, super depressed. I don't really get low like that either. But I think all of these maybe emotions that those drugs were those compounds were masking came to the surface. And so I quit both of those things for a week. Came back to Austin because I was back visiting my parents, my girlfriend in Jersey. Came back to Austin, past the Native Grocery right next to us, which is where I would always buy the kratom. Had a busy day at work. I'm like, let me just buy one. I'll be fine. It's a Monday. I'll just drink one. That one turned into like immediately back to like 5 to 7, back on the nicotine. And then Trip Ison did his 30-day challenge where it's kind of like a mini 75 hard. And there was something about the challenge that I just really latched onto where I was like, I just know if I follow these basic rules, I think there's going to be some gold that will come from this. And then in the midst of that challenge, I said, quitting both of these things probably doesn't make sense. Let me start by quitting kratom, and then I'll quit nicotine. So quit kratom. Felt like death again. But there was just something different about it this time where I knew I wasn't going to go back because I actually found 3 separate peer-reviewed studies of people that had ulcerative colitis, which is the autoimmune disease that I had, that were induced into the hospital for blood on their colon that was induced by these kratom concentrates. So when I read that article, that was my light bulb moment of you're knowingly taking something that's going to impact this autoimmune disease that you're going to deal with for the rest of your life. Do you really want to keep doing that? Because if you do, you're a moron. And so I quit that. Massive wave of confidence that came from that because, I was just always tired. I would always felt like I needed, like there was like a clinking of the bottles because I'd keep them in my backpack. And so wherever I would go to the gas station, and buy, you know, my fix for the day or a couple days, and you would just hear the clinking.
Yeah.
There's like a dirtiness. There's the dirtiness to that feeling. So the confidence of not needing to rely on that was amazing.
Yeah.
And then I quit nicotine 26 days ago. So I'm like 90 days off feel freeze, and then about 26 or 27 days off nicotine too. Yeah. And so that was along with my whole point in saying that when I say wasted time is that I think back to the days that I really just pissed away this last year, being like kind of comfortably medicated or not the most raw, authentic version of Brett. And as I think about wrapping up 2024 and 2025, I just think about success as a feeling of like genuinely just putting the best possible version of myself that day into the world. And like just having that feeling of when your head goes to bed being like, I really did make that marginal improvement today, or I did a little bit of good, or I served someone today. And I just trust that if I have that feeling every day, I think really good things will happen and we'll be able to create magic and serendipity and all that good stuff. So that was a long-winded way of just saying, like, I think me in the past would have probably hid what I just shared, but I don't think enough creators, especially in the health and wellness space, are open and vulnerable about the shit that actually plagues them deep down.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think there is something really interesting around, and this goes to what we were talking about right before the podcast, but there is something really interesting and I think confusing for people who specifically build a brand around like health and wellness, because it's like, it's good for views to a point.
Yeah.
But it's also like, it's not very human in the sense that like humans aren't static, and humans change and grow and evolve like constantly. Like I'm not even certain like I'm the same person every day. Like I think we might be restarting every dream. I don't know. Yeah, like it's just like I'm uncertain. I have like a tenuous grasp on reality, to be honest. But I just I watch people become trapped when they come too niche down in these spaces, because it's like they are trying to be this image of something versus like being something, you know, a good friend. Like I don't really want to drag them into this, but yeah, like some of my clients, for example, who are in this space, like it's almost like if they externally look good, then they feel validated. Yes. And they're just kind of like continuously like pushing that, and then it's good for their brand, it's good for their money, it's good for everything that they do. But at the same time, like it's not actually representative of the arc of humanity, which is like beauty and suffering. Have you read The Myth of Sisyphus?
About Sisyphus like pushing the boulder.
Yeah, by
up.
Camus by chance?
I've never read it.
Okay.
No.
Damn, it's good.
What were the big takeaways from the book?
Dude, it's such a crazy book because so basically Albert Camus, who is like a French existentialist, most famously wrote The Stranger, which I fucking hate. I'm like, again, I think existentialism is like chaotic. Nihilism's chaotic evil for sure, but like I'm very much more like transcendentalism in like my philosophy. But basically in the prologue of this book, he says like, if I can't convince myself by the end of this essay, it's like 60 to 70 pages. If I can't convince myself by the end of this essay that life has meaning, I will kill myself. And he fucking puts it on the line, and like, there's going to be some, you know, incentive there to figure it out. But essentially like he pushes, so Sisyphus is the titan who pushes the boulder up the hill every single day.
Yes. And
the whole essay is him trying to figure out if life has meaning, if life has meaning, if life has meaning. And then at the end, he realizes that like when Sisyphus gets to the top of the hill, he smiles. And it's like purpose. There is purpose in life. And I think the thing that existentialism like was confused about at that time period is the struggle isn't purpose. And this goes to like the struggle porn thing we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
That's not it. It's actually like, it makes you feel good. It creates contrast, but it shouldn't be the meaning of life.
It should just be like a byproduct of you trying to do something great with your life, but don't get overly fixated on the struggle itself. Yeah. That's so powerful. I mean, that's something I have to remind myself too of like, yeah, it's easy to, especially now, to go on YouTube and just watch a winter arc montage of Goggins and all these dudes. And I would be lying if I said like, it's that, you know, you get that nice jolt of anger and it fuels you to go to the gym. But something I've been thinking about is if I need to rely on a 30-day challenge or David Goggins or whatever to get myself in shape, there's probably something intrinsically unsettled with me. Like I should just be able to do some of those things default and not even need to be angry to do it, but just just have great habits and great systems. I know the book Atomic Habits is so cliche, but sometimes I think about the fact that if a book is on the New York Times bestseller list for 260 weeks, there's probably a reason why. And so I'm rereading it right now, and I've even just been rethinking like, oh, wow, so my motivation, my goals don't really matter that much. It's actually just I will fall or rise to the level of my systems and the way that I set up my environment. I think that's so encouraging.
For sure.
Yeah.
And how do you incorporate like fun into your life, do you think?
How do I incorporate fun into my life? I don't know if I have that many hobbies, to be honest with you. I think I really love the solace of waking up in the morning at, hopefully I've gotten like 7 or 8 hours of sleep, but I just love getting up at 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning when it's still dark out and no one else is up. And I truly just have that time to myself.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit autistic, so I shower before I go to the gym. It just kind of like restarts my day. And then I just love the 15-minute drive to Collective and just throw in like a great audiobook or something while I'm at the gym. Exercise, sunlight, cooking great meals, sharing great meals with people, reading something amazing. Like outside, it's just the simple things, man.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that Mark Sisson told me and Harry when he came on the podcast, because he was talking a lot about entrepreneurship. And he said that people don't know this about him, but he had a ton of failures before he achieved any level of financial success. And he said he had this epiphany. He was like, what are all the things that I love to do? He was like, I love to surf. I love to be in the sun. I love to eat good food. I love to walk with my wife on the beach. It's like all of these things I can actually do right now. So if I do make money, maybe I'll buy a nicer house or a nicer car. But outside of that, my life's not really going to change.
Yeah.
So I should probably start living and continue to do those things and take the pressure off of myself. So.
And are you applying that?
I'm trying to.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. I've been having more of this feeling of.
Have you ever surfed before?
No.
Oh, bro.
Should I?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never surfed and I've never hunted, which are two things I would love to do.
I've only hunted one time, but
yeah,
it's pretty cool.
I can't even imagine the feelings that you have just like being in the ocean, the minerals, the sun.
Yeah.
Just being in this unbelievably large body of water without much control.
I think it's like the greatest metaphor for life because it's like infinite variables. Like literally, because like every little thing in the ocean is just a little bit different to the wind, to the sun, to like blah, blah, blah. It makes everything different.
Yeah.
And all it's trying to teach you is like high agency. It's like positioning, energy, like conservation, and then high agency. And you're literally trying to find a way that you can like not tame Mother Nature, but like work in concert with Mother Nature to like in using that agency. Because like I think that like entropy is fucking crazy. And just like riding waves, I think is just the perfect metaphor. So I would highly recommend giving it a go. It's a really hard learning curve. So is hunting too, unfortunately. But I go to Waco all the time because they have a surf park, and it's not like the real thing, but you can get like your skills up.
Does Kelly Slater own that?
No, so Kelly Slater Kelly Slater's technology was purchased by World Surf League in like 2018, 2019, and then we had one here in Austin called Inland that Kelly Slater and World Surf League bought, and then during COVID they just ixed it. But we were building, at least as of 2023, we were building the largest surf park in the world here in Austin, Texas. They had raised $2.3 billion. I have no idea if they're ever going to get that money back, but that's how much they raised to build a surf park, which is fucking crazy.
I would love to know who the lead financiers are in that.
Dude, it's probably Saudis, but yeah. Almost guaranteed.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it's simple things. And I do try and bake a lot of that stuff into my day too, even if it's just something as simple as like, I like to try and get, 15,000 steps a day outside. So even just taking like a couple work calls with my shirt off or whatever, just basic stuff, like something that's bothering me immediately, right after 5 minutes outside with the sun beating down, it's like, all right, I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I am trying to like continue to take my own advice too, because really at the end of the day, like what we're doing isn't that important. I'm just trying to really enjoy the moment and, just help make my team better and just do a little bit of good and serve.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's like you have to hold these two contradicting thoughts. It's like what I'm doing isn't important, but it's also the most important thing in the world, because I think what humans are is we're meaning-making machines. And so like what we give meaning is actually like the fundamental human right is to give meaning to things. But it's like, how do you give it in a way that's serving you versus something that's like hurting you or creating insecurity or creating like these pitfalls or like, like whenever I feel sorry for myself, I'll throw in a Goggins because that like cuts
Yes.
it real fast. But like, I would fucking hate to be David Goggins, bro.
Yes.
Being in that guy's body in head sounds fucking awful.
The prisoner,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I can't even imagine when his alarm goes off in the morning and it's like, I think he probably has some sense of understanding that he's almost like a deity to a lot of young men or just people in general that really look up to him and draw inspiration from him. And I would imagine now that's probably an incredible source of fuel. But I also do feel like he has this great intrinsic fire that burns within too.
Yeah. I think my favorite part of his story is that he found it. You know,
Yes.
like he wasn't born with it, and I think that's so important for humans to realize. I'm an incredibly privileged person. Why am I privileged? Like, it's not because of the color of my skin or this or that. I'm privileged because I had two parents that fundamentally believed in me and basically said like I could do anything, and like they empowered me to do that, and they exposed me to just a fuck ton of shit. And that is a privilege that I'm so sad that many people don't get until later in life or at all.
Yes.
But like, he definitely was somebody who decided to like create a new reality. And he came from a lot of fucked up shit.
Yes.
And then did that. And I do find that incredibly empowering.
Do you feel like since your daughter's been born, you have a newfound appreciation for your parents? Because it sounds like you appreciated them even before your daughter was born, but I'm sure that's probably changed you in some great ways too with your own parents, right?
Yeah, for sure. No, it was pretty crazy. Like, holding her for the first time, I read this little essay about it, but holding her for the first time was basically like, it was very psychedelic. Like, in my mind's eye, I saw all of this almost like double helix structure of like love surging through like multi generations all the way down to like our connection. And then that love I felt for her like connected me to my parents and ancestors in a way that I didn't know was fucking possible, because I've always felt trapped inside of my own existence. And it was just like, holy shit, like it is so much bigger. And I understood my parents so much more. I understood like why they made the decisions they did, and I understood like why they prioritized having so much fun with me. And we had so much fucking fun as a kid. Like, I did so much cool shit with my parents, and I absolutely loved it. And the thing that's made it really interesting is that my dad is like kind of in the dying process. And so like I also realized in that moment that like that connection, that direct link is going to be severed, and it's going to go away. But it's going to live on in a transcendent way through her. And it was just like I'm getting chills just saying it, but it was so fucking intense and powerful. Yo, thank you guys so much for your time and attention. I hope you enjoyed this small taste of the podcast. This is now going into the paid portion, and I hope that you liked what you got and you feel inclined to head to skmp.supercast.com or click the link that's in the description. You can listen to this full episode and many others. And I just want to leave you with an idea that nothing is free. In every single transaction, there is a buyer and a seller. And if you're not paying for something, I would be careful, because you might just be that which is being sold.